History is a peculiar thing. We love our firsts. The first man on the moon, the first sip of coffee in the morning, the first time someone looked at an oyster and thought, I bet I could eat that. But just as fascinating, if not more so, are the lasts. The final hurrah of a piece of technology, the last stand of a species, or the ultimate curtain call of an icon. These moments offer profound insights into how far we've come, how much we've lost, and sometimes how much we've bungled along the way. So, today we're getting into the final resting places of famous people and things, including the last Blockbuster video. But before we go too far back, make sure you're subscribed to stay up to date on all our latest videos. After that, leave us a comment and let us know what milestones you want to hear about. All right, last one in's a wonderful video. In the waning days of World War II, a time when the world was desperately clutching at the frayed edges of peace, there was a small corner of Czechoslovakia where war refused to die quietly. Private First Class Charlie Havlat of the 803rd Tank Battalion found himself on a dirt road near Valari, blissfully unaware that he was about to become the closing act of a very bloody play. On May 7, 1945, Charlie and his platoon were advancing, retreating, or perhaps pondering the existential question of why their boots always seemed to collect mud when they were suddenly ambushed by German machine gun fire. Unknown to everyone on that dirt road, a ceasefire had just been signed and declared 9 minutes before. In a bizarre twist of posthumous courtesy, the Germans, once informed, apologized for the oversight. This rather unfortunate incident is memorialized at the spot where Havlat fell, serving as a somber reminder that even the most orchestrated endings can have discordant notes. Imagine, if you will, the barren, dusty expanse of Mars, a place that looks like Arizona's cranky cousin. Amidst this red desolation roamed Spirit, a rover designed to last a mere 90 Martian days. Spirit, however, was much more tenacious than its expiration date. Launched in June 2003, Spirit landed on Mars in January 2004 and immediately exceeded expectations, much like an underdog in a feel-good sports movie. For over 6 years, Spirit explored, transmitted data, and existentially questioned why its gears always seemed to collect space dust. Then, in a cruel twist of planetary fate, Spirit got stuck in a Martian sand trap near the Columbia Hills. Spirit's final transmission came on March 22, 2010, a plaintive beep lost in the infinite void. Meanwhile, her twin rover, Opportunity, soldiered on for nearly a decade more, proving that sometimes even the bravest of adventurers need a backup. Mauritius, a tropical island paradise, was once the home of the dodo, a bird that became the poster child for extinction. That bird waddled with the grace of a drunken sailor and was blissfully unafraid of humans. Enter the 16th century sailors who, upon discovering these peculiar creatures, did what humans do best: barbecue. But contrary to popular belief, the dodo wasn't wiped out because it was delicious. The real culprits were the rats, dogs, and pigs that the sailors brought with them. These invasive species gobbled up dodo eggs like kids let loose at a candy store. By 1681, the last dodo had shuffled off this mortal coil, leaving behind only tales of its ungainly charm. The island Mauritius remains a verdant reminder of how human curiosity and its unintended impact can lead to the most regrettable of lasts. There was a time not so long ago when a trip to Blockbuster Video was a Friday night ritual. Rows upon rows of VHS tapes and DVDs stood like sentinels holding the promise of entertainment, or the threat of exorbitant late fees. Then came Netflix, a plucky upstart that delivered movies to your door and, later, streamed them directly into your living room, like moving from horse-drawn carriages to hoverboards. Blockbuster, in a move that will live in infamy, declined the chance to buy Netflix for a mere $50 million. As the digital age dawned, Blockbuster stores closed one by one, until only a single stubborn holdout remained in Bend, Oregon. This last Blockbuster has become something of a shrine, a nostalgic time capsule for those who remember the tactile joy of physical media and the peculiar smell of a rental store. and conveniently forgot they were once a mighty corporation that stomped out mom-and-pop joints all across the country. Whoops! Woolworth's was more than a department store. It was a cultural institution, especially its lunch counters. These counters became unlikely battlegrounds during the Civil Rights Movement, starting with the Greensboro sit-ins of 1960. However, beyond its historical significance, Woolworth's was also the place where one could enjoy a grilled cheese sandwich and a malted milkshake. As the years marched on, Woolworth's stores closed, one by one, succumbing to the inevitability of changing times and consumer habits. The very last Woolworth's lunch counter held out in Bakersfield, California until 2022. This last diner was a nostalgic relic, serving up not just food, but memories of a simpler time when lunch counters were the social networks of their day. The Supreme Court's 1954 decision in Brown v. Board of Education declared that segregating schools by race was unconstitutional. One might reasonably expect that the desegregation of schools would have followed swiftly, but progress often meanders like a lazy river, sometimes getting stuck in a particularly stubborn bend. In the confusingly named Cleveland, Mississippi, segregation persisted through a series of loopholes and geographical shenanigans. It wasn't until 2016, 62 years after the Supreme Court ruling, that Cleveland High School finally desegregated. This remarkable tardiness serves as a reminder that societal change is often a marathon, not a sprint, often with a lot of rest stops along the way. The Beatles, a band that needs zero introduction, stopped touring in 1966, retreating to the studio to craft the timeless music that would define a generation. Yet in January 1969, in a fit of spontaneity, they staged one last live performance, not in a grand stadium, but on the rooftop of their Apple Corps headquarters on Savile Row. As they played, Londoners below paused in confusion. Was it really the Beatles? Were they hearing new songs? What on earth was happening? This impromptu concert, the stuff of legend, ended not with a bang, but with a bemused shrug from the authorities. It was a fittingly quirky farewell from a band that was anything but ordinary. The telephone, a humanity-defining invention that shrank the world, evolved rapidly from its nascent days of operator-assisted calls to the glorious independence of the dialed telephone. By simply turning a dial, one could connect to anyone, anywhere, provided the line wasn't busy. Most of America embraced this convenience early on, but Catalina Island, a picturesque enclave off the California coast, held out until 1978. Here, the modern world arrived fashionably late, like a guest who takes the concept of island time a bit too literally. When the first dial telephones were finally installed, it was a momentous occasion, marking the end of an era of operator dependency. The Concorde, a sleek supersonic marvel, promised to whisk passengers across the Atlantic at twice the speed of sound. It was the epitome of high-flying luxury, and for a while, it seemed invincible. But even marvels have their limits. And on July 25, 2000, a tragic accident grounded the Concorde fleet. By 2003, both British Airways and Air France decided to retire their Concordes. The last flight, from New York's JFK to London's Heathrow, on October 24, 2003, was an event to behold. Celebrities, wealthy patrons, and aviation enthusiasts vied for a seat, eager to be part of history. The Concorde's final landing marked the end of an era of supersonic travel, leaving us with memories of a time when the skies were just a little bit faster. War elephants, majestic pachyderm powerhouses, were once the tanks of ancient warfare. They trampled enemies, carried warriors, and generally caused havoc wherever they went. But as firearms evolved, the once mighty war elephant found itself at a disadvantage. As any dog owner during the 4th of July knows, loud bangs and large beasts do not mix well. Yet in a curious twist of military history, the last known use of war elephants occurred as recently as 1987. In Kirkuk, Iraq, Iranians employed elephants to transport weapons, a nod to ancient tactics in a modern conflict. It's a peculiar historical footnote, a reminder that sometimes old strategies die hard, even in the face of progress. The castrati, ethereal-voiced male singers who soared to vocal heights at a painful personal cost, were the rock stars of their time. Their voices, preserved through a particularly grim surgical procedure, castrato ain't just a name, you dig, captivated audiences across Europe. By the late 19th century, however, the practice was outlawed, and the castrati became a relic of a bygone era. Alessandro Moreschi, the last castrato, lived out his days near the Vatican, his once celebrated voice fading into history. He died in 1922, marking the end of a practice that now seems more suited to a dark comedy than to real life. Smallpox, the scourge of humanity, once seemed invincible. It ravaged populations, leaving death and disfigurement in its wake. But humanity, armed with the power of science, declared war on smallpox, and won decisively. The last known case of smallpox occurred in America, Somalia, in 1977. Ali Maumaulan, the final patient, made a full recovery and later dedicated his life to vaccination efforts. Smallpox's eradication stands out as a monumental achievement, a testament to what people can accomplish when united against a common foe. So what do you think? What are some of your favorite famous lasts? Let us know in the comments below. And while you're here, why not check out other videos from our weird history?